My beloved child, stop scrolling and listen. This moment is not an accident. I need you to understand something that no one else has dared to tell you. Long before the earth spun its first morning into motion, before your first breath or your first thought, I had already written your name on my heart. You were not born by random chance. You were not created as a side story in someone else's journey. You were formed with intention marked by heaven and wrapped in a love that this world cannot offer. You didn't choose me first. I chose you, fully aware of every struggle, every scar, every secret. I knew the battles you would face, the temptations that would lure you, and the disappointments that would try to break you. Still, I looked at you and whispered, "Mine." While the world placed conditions on love, I placed a cross in front of your sin and declared it finished. You've looked for purpose in people, applause, and approval, but my gaze never left you. Not when you wondered. Not when you rebelled. Not even when you denied me with your silence. I saw you when the tears fell behind closed doors. I saw the fake smiles and the desperate prayers that you gave up halfway through. I saw you collapse under the weight of expectations and lies whispered by the enemy. And still, my eyes remained fixed on you, not to condemn but to cover, to call, to carry. You don't need to beg for my attention. You had it from the beginning. When others walked away, I walked in. When you felt invisible, I was watching every heartbeat, every breath, every broken dream. I didn't flinch at your failures. I didn't panic when you doubted. I didn't turn away when you questioned everything. I stayed, even when you didn't. You were not forgotten in heaven's design. I planted your destiny before your first mistake. I crafted a future laced with restoration, healing, and divine assignments. There has never been a day, not even one, where I stopped fighting for your soul. While you felt unwanted, I was preparing a place with your name on it. While you thought I was silent, I was arranging miracles in the background that you haven't even seen yet. I do not lose focus. I do not get distracted. My eyes are not like human eyes that get bored or tired. My gaze is eternal, and it's locked on you with a fierceness that hell itself cannot interrupt. I have watched your life unfold with tears in my eyes and fire in my heart, waiting for the moment you would realize. I have been here all along. Every second you've lived has mattered to me. Every decision, every heartbreak, every victory. Have counted it all. And still, I see more in you than you've ever seen in yourself. This isn't just another message. This is me, reaching across the veil of the unseen to tell you, don't you dare believe that you are unworthy of love. My love isn't earned, it's given. It's not limited, it's eternal. You don't need to run anymore. You don't need to prove yourself. I already proved everything necessary when I stretched my arms on that cross and declared your name worth dying for. So why are you still doubting? Why are you still running from the very one who never stopped running toward you? This is not a coincidence. This is your call to return to the love that never stopped waiting, never stopped pursuing, and never once turned away. I've watched your entire life like a father watches his child take their first steps, cheering even in the stumbles, present in every silent second, whispering through the chaos. You are mine. You really think you've been alone in all this? You believe the silence meant absence? No, my beloved. The silence was my approach, slow and steady, like thunder rolling before the breakthrough. I've crossed fires for you, shattered spiritual barriers, and warred in realms unseen while you slept through your darkest nights. You have no idea what I passed through to get this close. The world tried to drown out my voice with noise, fear, guilt, and lies, but I refused to stop speaking your name. The storms you faced weren't meant to destroy you. They were the very path I walked through to reach you. Even when you didn't call out for me, I came. Even when you doubted I existed, I moved in the shadows, orchestrating protection when disaster was inches away. Your name, child, it echoed in heaven. It echoed through pain. It echoed when no one else remembered you. And even when your voice went quiet, mine did not. When you collapsed in silence, not knowing what to pray, I filled the stillness with intercession on your behalf. I stood between you and the attacks that were meant to destroy your spirit. I chased you into the silence, not to punish you, but to reach you in the place where all the pretending finally faded. I didn't come in noise. I didn't come with a crowd. I came in the stillness, where you were finally ready to hear what others couldn't say. You have tried to fill your silence with temporary sounds, music, media, distractions, conversations that left you emptier than before. But I waited. I came through storms not just of your circumstances, but of your emotions, your mind, your regrets. I broke through every wall you unknowingly built around your heart, not with force, but with a whisper. I didn't need to shout, because love like mine doesn't demand, it pursues. It finds you where the echoes of the world go silent, and your soul trembles with the realization that something deeper is calling. That something is me. I whisper not because I am weak, but because I am near, and you only whisper when you're close. And I've been close, closer than your own breath, even when you cursed my name, even when you gave up, even when you convinced yourself you were too far gone. I never stopped coming. I never stopped whispering. I never stopped reaching. The storms were never a sign that I had abandoned you. They were proof I was clearing the path to get to you. The winds raged, but they couldn't stop me. The darkness deepened, but it couldn't hide you from me. The waves rose high, but I walked across them just to reach the shore of your pain. You didn't see it, but I was there. I am the calm inside your chaos. I am the whisper in your wilderness. I am the hand extended when the waves are higher than your head. Don't mistake my whisper for distance. My whisper means I'm already here, and I will keep whispering your name until you realize it has always been my voice carrying you through. Not once did I forget you. Not once did I give up. You searched for comfort in noise, in people, in plans. But the real answer has been whispering from behind the curtain of every storm, you're still mine. I've never stopped calling you closer. You wake up thinking it was just luck, that maybe things worked out somehow. But I need you to understand this. It wasn't chance. It was me. It wasn't your timing, it was my interference. There were situations you walked into unaware, people you trusted who carried harm in their hearts, places you entered that had traps waiting for you, and I intercepted it all before it could break you. There were moments when death stood too close to your door, when hell's grip tightened around your next step, when darkness prepared to swallow you whole, and I came between you and the threat without asking for recognition. You never saw the knife I removed, the fire I put out, the road I routed. You have no idea how many accidents didn't happen, how many heartbreaks were less severe because I stood between you and what was meant to end you. While you were blaming me for the things that did go wrong, I was shielding you from things that would have destroyed you completely. You prayed for healing, not knowing I already delivered you from something worse. You asked for blessings, not seeing the danger I diverted. If I showed you every unseen battle I fought while you were scrolling, sleeping, crying, doubting, your knees would hit the floor in worship. You survived not because you were smart enough or strong enough, but because I stepped in without needing applause. You don't remember the near crashes, the messages you didn't send, the relationships that collapsed suddenly, the job you didn't get, the place you didn't walk into, but I do. I orchestrated those moments like a divine rescue plan, timed down to the second, not to punish you, but to preserve you. You think I'm distant when you don't hear me, but often my silence is because I'm too busy saving you from a disaster you can't see yet. I've watched the enemy prepare snares for your feet, and I've kicked them down before you even took your next step. I've seen spiritual assassins wait for the moment you'd slip, and I blocked every arrow, even when your heart wasn't turned toward me. I've lost count of the times I redirected the attacks away from your name. You only see the pain that made it through. I see the flood that was held back by my hand. I didn't let everything reach you, only what could transform you, never what would destroy you. And even in what you thought would break you, I was already inside it, placing limits on how far it could go. You called it a setback. I called it a shield. You called it rejection. I called it redirection. You called it delay. I called it divine interference. I stood in the middle when you were unaware, uncaring, even unfaithful. I didn't do it because you earned it. I did it because I made a covenant with your soul before you even knew how to speak my name. And I'm still standing there, between you and the pit, between you and collapse, between you and the evil that's circling. You don't have to see the rescue to believe it happened. You're breathing today because I made it so. Not once did I grow weary. Not once did I say you weren't worth it. And right now, even as you read this, I'm holding back forces that would consume you, just to give you more time, more grace, more space to hear my voice clearly. Stop thinking I've left you. Start realizing how far I've gone just to keep you alive. I don't expect you to understand all the ways I protected you, but I'm asking you now. Trust me. I didn't let you go when destruction stood too close. I will let go now. And now I need you to pause and consider this. Every wound I bore, every lash that tore through my flesh, every nail that pierced my body, none of it was random. Each scar was intentional, not for shame, but for your salvation. You scroll past images of the cross. You wear it around your neck. You've heard the story 1,000 times. But have you ever let the truth of it hit your heart? I didn't just suffer. I endured torment with your name etched in my mind. Those scars weren't decoration. They are declarations. Declarations that scream, this soul was worth dying for. You've been searching for someone to fight for you, someone to take your pain seriously, someone to stand in your place. And I already did. I didn't wait for you to clean yourself up. I didn't need you to impress me. I laid my life down before you ever called me Savior. And every scar I carry still speaks. They speak louder than the insults you've believed, louder than the guilt that haunts you, louder than the lies that tell you your destiny is already ruined. No. A destiny is still intact because I covered it with my blood. I made sure no sin, no shame, no mistake would have the final say. Every blow that ripped through me was blocking the judgment that should have landed on you. I made an eternal exchange, my punishment for your peace. And even now, those scars remain as proof, not of pain, but of purchase. You've been bought, redeemed, claimed. Not with silver, not with gold, but with blood that did not flinch, blood that did not hesitate, blood that still speaks your name in the courts of heaven. I went that far, not to show off my suffering, but to erase yours, to give you a future that the enemy cannot touch. My scars are not just history. They are the blueprint of your protection. When the enemy accuses you, I show him my scars. When you doubt your worth, I point to the marks that sealed your worth forever. And still you ask if you matter. Still you wonder if you're too far gone. Look at me. Really look. I didn't endure agony so you could keep wondering if you're loved. I didn't rise from death so you could keep living like you're forgotten. These scars cost everything, and they mean everything. Your freedom was carved into my body. Your healing was nailed into my hands. Your restoration was branded into my back. And I would do it all again if it meant reaching you. I didn't flinch then. I'm not backing down now. Your destiny is still on the table, because I paid for it in full. No devil can undo what I died to establish. And no amount of delay, failure, or distance can remove the seal I placed over your life. So stop agreeing with the shame that tells you you're too late. Stop bowing to the fear that whispers you've gone too far. Look at my scars. Hear what they are still saying. You are mine. And I went through hell to make sure your future is not canceled. You may not see the full picture yet, but I've never stopped painting it. And every stroke is soaked in the blood that refused to let your story end in ruin. My child, these scars weren't the end. They were the beginning of your second chance. Let them speak for you when your own voice shakes. Let them cover you when you feel uncovered. Let them remind you that your story is not over, It's protected by sacrifice. You've spent so much time staring into mirrors that reflect lies back at you. The world has told you that you are not enough, that you have failed, that you are too broken to be loved, and you started believing those words. You question if your life truly mattered, if anyone would ever see beyond your flaws, your mistakes, your silence. But as you wrestled with those thoughts, as you cried quietly when no one saw, I was already hanging between heaven and earth, proving your worth with every drop of blood that fell from my body. You measured your value by what others gave you, but I measured it by what I was willing to give for you, and I gave everything. What the promise written in word, it was written in wound. Each thorn pressed into my head shouted that you were worth enduring humiliation. Each strike across my back declared that your life was worth defending. Each nail through my hands spoke louder than every rejection you've carried. You see, I didn't just die for humanity. I died for you personally, with your name on my lips and your face in my mind. I knew the moments you would hate yourself, the days you'd hide from me, the times you'd settle for less because you thought you didn't deserve better. Yet I still went forward. I still bled. I still said, you are worth this. You think your scars define you, but it's my scars that define your worth. I took your shame and made it powerless. I took your guilt and buried it in the grave I walked out of. I took your self-hate and drowned it in mercy that never runs out. I didn't look at your sin and hesitate. I looked at it and said, I'll handle that. And I did. I faced the punishment that was meant for you so that you would never again have to question if you matter. I didn't need a reason to love you. You were the reason. When they mocked me, I thought of you. When they pierced my side, I was thinking about the emptiness you'd one day feel and how my love would fill it. When I breathed my last breath, I wasn't losing. I was finishing what I started the moment you were formed. That's how much you mean to me. You may look at yourself and see failure, but I look at you and see a masterpiece that cost the blood of a king. You may think your worth depends on your success, but your worth was settled at the cross long before you ever took your first step. So when the voice in your mind says you're not valuable, remember the price that was paid. Remember that value is determined by what someone is willing to pay, and I paid everything. I gave heaven's highest for earth's broken one. That's you. You don't have to keep trying to prove yourself to me. You don't have to earn what I already secured. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake I regret. You are the one I chose even knowing every wrong turn you'd take. I didn't bleed because I had to. I bled because I couldn't stand eternity without you. I went through suffering so that you could walk in freedom. I took the shame so that you could hold your head high again. So stop questioning your value. Every time you doubt, look back at the cross. That's your price tag. The blood you see there is not a symbol of guilt. It's a signature of love that cannot be erased. You are worth dying for, and the truth will never change. My sacrifice didn't just prove your worth, it sealed it forever. Beyond opinion, beyond failure, beyond time. And even after I gave everything for you, you still searched for something else, and I didn't stop you. I watched as you reached for people who never saw your soul, chased dreams that faded when you got close, and gave pieces of your heart to empty promises. You didn't know that the lights you ran toward were flickering illusions. Here one moment, on the next. You thought you had found warmth, safety, meaning, but each time, it slipped through your hands like dust. You were convinced that attention would heal you, that success would validate you, that approval would complete you. But those were only temporary lights, glowing just long enough to lure you deeper into the shadows. And I never left. I stood quietly, without condemnation, without anger, without turning away. While others turned their backs, I remained right there in the darkness you thought I couldn't enter. I stepped into your confusion, your rebellion, your ache, not to expose you, but to stay near you until you were ready to see me again. You never noticed that when everything else fell apart, I was the only one who did. You blamed the darkness on me, not realizing I stood between you and complete collapse. You feared I had walked away when the truth is, I was waiting right where you left me. I never chased you like the world does, offering rewards to keep you interested. I waited, knowing love doesn't manipulate, doesn't compete with lies, that just stays. You gave your energy to things that drained you, and I still guarded your soul through every choice. You turned your face to temporary flames while I stood behind you holding eternal light. I knew that when the glow died down, you would need somewhere safe to fall, and I refused to let that place be anything but my arms. You searched for identity in counterfeit places, trying to be seen, heard, validated, and I saw it all. I heard every unspoken plea beneath your laughter, beneath your silence, beneath your independence. And I kept standing still. I was not absent. I was patient. I didn't storm into your life to demand attention. I waited with the strength of a love that doesn't flinch, even when you forget it's there. Others gave up on you when you didn't shine bright. I stood in the dark, knowing your light was buried, not gone. You forgot your way, but I never forgot my promises over you. Every time you returned empty from the lights that deceived you, I didn't say I told you so. I simply opened my arms wider. When the fake comfort wore off, I remained real. When their praise vanished, I was still speaking destiny over you. I never once left you to sit alone in your regret. I sat with you, waited for you to look up, and never stopped believing in the day you would. My love was never built on your ability to stay close. It's built on my decision to never let distance define our relationship. I stood in your shadows with all the light you truly needed, not to force you back, but to welcome you when your soul finally whispered, "I miss you." You've run far, but I'm still right here. You've tried everything else, but I'm still enough. And when you realize that all those temporary lights only dim your vision of what was real, you'll find that I've never moved, never stopped loving, never stopped preparing your return. I know you're tired. I know nothing is satisfying anymore. That's because the light you were made for doesn't come from this world. It comes from me. And it's been waiting, just like I have, right here, in the dark, ready to lead you home. You've been told I'm distant, somewhere up in the clouds, disconnected from the weight you carry, untouched by your grief, unmoved by the mess you're buried in. But I need you to hear me clearly now. I left the throne, the angels, the songs of eternal praise, because I saw you down here drowning in sorrow, walking roads of loneliness, slipping under the pressure of what the world kept throwing at you. I stepped down from majesty, not because I had to, but because I couldn't bear the thought of you believing I wouldn't. I traded heaven's brilliance for the silence of a manger, the reverence of angels for the rejection of men, the eternal radiance of divinity for the aching reality of human pain, because I wanted you to know, you are never walking through this life alone. Every speck of dust that has clung to your feet, every muddy step you've taken through confusion, shame, betrayal, loss, I've felt it. I chose it. I didn't float above your pain. I entered it. I didn't shout instructions from a distance. I came close enough to be misunderstood, spit on, and mocked by the very world I came to redeem. That's how far I was willing to go, not just to reach you, but to become reachable to you. You don't need to climb your way to me. I came down into your suffering, took on flesh like yours, walked roads with bleeding people, wept at gravesides, touched the outcasts, and was bruised by the systems that tried to control truth. I wasn't immune to it. I embraced it, every trial, every wound, every injustice. I didn't wear glory as armor. I set it down so you would never be afraid to come close. When you hurt, I understand because I hurt too. When you're exhausted, I remember the weight of carrying a cross through mocking crowds. When you feel unseen, I remember what it was like to be overlooked in the very towns I came to rescue. I made myself nothing, not because you are nothing, but because I wanted you to know how much you are worth. I became one of you, so no one could ever again say I don't understand. And even now, when you sit on the floor of your disappointment, wondering if anyone sees the real you behind the smile. I'm right there beside you, sitting in the same dust, still holding the same heart that gave everything for you. I walk this earth so you'd know your tears don't scare me. Your silence doesn't push me away. Your failure doesn't make me flinch. I walk through your world so that when you call on me, it's not a stranger answering, it's the one who already knows what it's like to carry weight you didn't ask for. I didn't stay where I was worshipped. I came where I was wounded. I didn't remain where I was exalted. I entered the world where I was executed. And I did it not to prove a point, but to make a way. You are not forgotten in your dirt. You are not overlooked in your ordinary. You are not abandoned in your breakdown. I am the God who gave up everything glorious just to walk with you through everything painful. I laid down divine splendor so you could one day lay down your sorrow. That's what love does. It doesn't wait to be understood. It moves first. It leaves perfection for the imperfect. It enters messes it didn't create to redeem hearts that forgot they were beautiful. And I did all of that for you. So the next time you feel too dirty, too lost, too far gone, remember this. I chose the dust. I chose your road. I chose your cross. And I'd choose it all again just to be close to you. And while I walked through the dust, feeling every weight you would one day carry, I faced the most crushing pain not from wounds on my body, but from the moment even the Father turned his face away. That silence pierced deeper than the nails. That separation was heavier than the cross. I, who had been one with the Father for eternity, became the outcast so you would never have to be. I was stripped of comfort, cast aside by those I loved, mocked by those I came to rescue, and I didn't fight back. I didn't call angels to defend me. I did escape the suffering. I absorbed it all. I allowed abandonment to fall on me so that you, even in your loneliest hour, would have a place to run. You felt the sting of being forgotten, by friends, by family, by those who promised to stay. You've looked around and seen empty chairs, unread messages, unanswered calls, doors shut when you needed them open. And in those moments, you thought no one cared. But I want you to understand something. I stepped into that forsakenness before you ever had to feel it. I know what it's like to be left without explanation. I know what it's like to stand alone, bleeding love while everyone walks away. And I endured that separation so that you would always have someone who stays. You think no one understands your loneliness, but I've felt the crushing weight of isolation, not just emotional, but eternal. And I carried it, not because I deserved it, but because you couldn't. I let abandonment consume me so it would never consume you. I took that unbearable silence between heaven and earth and broke it with my cry, my God, why have you forsaken me? Not out of doubt, but out of exchange. I stood in the gap so you would never again be on the outside looking in. So that in your midnight hour, you could whisper my name and find me already sitting beside you. You are not alone. No matter how many lies tell you that you are. No matter how many doors are closed, I remain open. No matter who leaves, I remain present. No matter what you lose, I remain constant. This is not a love that disappears when you're not perfect. This is not a savior who retreats when you're struggling. I took the full measure of separation so that you could live in unbreakable connection. I didn't just die for your sin. I died to end your solitude. I was pushed out so you could be pulled in. I was deserted so you could be embraced. And now, even when you sit in silence, overwhelmed and unnoticed by the world, I notice you. I feel your ache. I hear the silent cries. I understand the prayers you don't know how to speak. I never look away. I never step back. I never give up. You've grown used to disappointment, people showing up late or not at all. But I show up before you even realize you need me. I sit in the pain before the words form. I reach into the wound before it fully opens. And I'm not leaving, ever. You don't have to beg me to stay. You don't have to qualify for my presence. My love was sealed in abandonment, not yours but mine. I traded places with you at the cross, and now nothing, no voice, no sin, no failure, no distance, can undo what was done. You will never be truly alone again, not in your room, not in your sorrow, not in your mistakes. I'm there. I've always been there, and I will never walk away. And while you sat in the dark, thinking no one noticed, I was already near, whispering your name into the very places you thought I'd abandoned. You expected me to shout through the chaos, to shake the heavens with dramatic signs. But that's not how I move when your heart is breaking. I come softly, so gently, because I know what fragile feels like. You cried and thought no one heard. You trembled under the weight of invisible battles, thinking no one saw the fight behind your smile. But I was right there, speaking in the stillness, wrapping my presence around your grief, calling out to you even when your ears were too heavy with sorrow to recognize the sound. I wasn't absent, I was whispering hope through every tear-stained pillow. I didn't shout because I was close, and you only whisper when you're right beside someone. You were waiting for a miracle wrapped in noise. But I sent mercy in the quiet moments, the moments you didn't post, the breakdowns no one knew about, the nights when your heart begged for release. Every sigh you gave in exhaustion became the sound that drew me even closer. I never turned away from those cries. I never rolled my eyes at your weakness. I leaned in. And while others overlooked your pain or expected you to be strong again, I didn't place demands. I offered rest. I whispered truths over your identity while the lies tried to suffocate you. I called out your future when you couldn't see past your failure. My voice didn't vanish when you shut down. It surrounded you, flowing through memories, melodies, conversations, and moments that tried to hint, you're not alone. I spoke through sunsets you barely noticed, through the kindness of strangers, through the silence that wrapped around your room like a hug you didn't know you needed. You thought I was ignoring you because you didn't hear thunder, but I was reaching you through peace. You were hoping for proof of my presence, but I was giving you persistence, the ability to still be here despite everything that tried to break you. That was me. Every time you didn't collapse, even when you felt like giving up, that was my voice sustaining you. Every time you got out of bed when it felt pointless, that was me speaking courage into your soul. I didn't need to break the sky open to let you know I care. I needed to stay close enough to heal what no one else could reach. You may think I've been silent, but I've been consistent. I've been calling you back with every breath you've taken. I've been pulling you close, not with volume, but with constancy. And tonight, as you read these words, you feel that tug again, that ache that says, this message is for me. That's not coincidence. That's me, still speaking, still loving, still waiting for you to recognize that the one who made the stars has been leaning into your darkness every single night. I know what it's like to cry alone. I've done it too. I cried in Gethsemane while everyone around me slept. I wept when no one stood with me. So I understand, and I'm not going anywhere. My whisper is not weakness. It's intimacy. I speak low because I want you to come closer. I speak gently because I want to heal, not harm. I speak continually because I never give up. Don't let the noise of your fear convince you I've gone silent. I've been here, speaking life over you, calling you out of despair, naming you mine again and again. And even now, this very moment, I am whispering, come home. I've been waiting. You kept asking for a sign, something undeniable, something to make it all clear, but you didn't realize I'd already been speaking in ways you just weren't trained to recognize. You were waiting for lightning, but I was painting your path with gentle clues, personal confirmations, sacred echoes designed just for your heart to notice. I knew how easily you could miss me in the chaos, so I embedded my voice into your daily moments, not to overwhelm you, but to reveal that I was with you in ways deeper than sound. The shift in atmosphere when you almost gave up, but didn't, that was me. The random song that played with the exact words your soul needed, that was me. The message you almost scrolled past, but something in you paused. That was me. The stranger's kindness when you were about to break. The delay that saved you from danger. The opportunity that came after a door slammed shut. None of it was random. I authored those moments. I sent glimpses of my hand in the smallest spaces, not because I wanted to be hidden, but because I wanted you to choose to see me. You think I've been quiet, but your life is full of my fingerprints. I didn't need to part the sea again to prove my nearness. I parted the silence between your questions and gave you breadcrumbs of grace that led back to me. You've said things like, "What a coincidence. That's weird. This is just what I needed to hear," and still doubted it was me. But I've never stopped pointing you home, even when you were looking in the wrong direction. I stirred your spirit in rooms where nothing should have moved you. I sent dreams, impressions, nudges that interrupted your plans just enough to redirect you. You dismissed them, thinking it was your mind, your instincts, but it was me, loving you too much to remain hidden when you needed hope the most. I placed my voice in your surroundings, the smile of a child, the quiet peace in the middle of anxiety, the strength that came when yours ran out. You don't need grand miracles to know I'm here. Look closer. I've been in the timing, the interruptions, the recoveries, the second chances, the things that shouldn't have worked but somehow did. I orchestrated it all, not to impress you, but to reach you. You thought signs had to come with flashing lights and booming declarations. But what if the sign was in the way your heart didn't give up when everything around you told you to? What if the sign was in the way peace showed up in the middle of panic? What if it was the very message you're reading right now, arriving at the exact moment your soul was too tired to search any longer? This isn't chance. It's alignment. I've been layering your story with divine intersections and timely grace. Every closed door was a detour I designed. Every unexplainable rescue was my hand catching you before the fall. You wanted proof that I was listening, but I've been responding in the ways only love can. Gentle, consistent, and customized for you. The reason you keep feeling that stirring in your chest, that pull toward something more, that whisper that says this is for you, is because I'm still speaking, still sending, still showing up. You haven't missed me. You've just mistaken subtlety for absence. But I assure you, I've never been absent. I've only been waiting for your eyes to open and see that I've been here all along, marking the path not with noise, but with mercy. You remember the moments when you slipped, when shame wrapped around you so tightly that you couldn't even lift your head to pray. You thought I walked away. You imagined me disappointed, watching from a distance as you tried to clean the mess yourself. But that's not what happened. The instant you fell, I moved closer. I saw the pain behind your choices, the weight of regret that pressed against your chest, the tears you tried to hide from everyone else, and I wept with you. My tears weren't of anger, they were of compassion. I wasn't keeping score, I was keeping watch. While you were trying to gather broken pieces of yourself, I was kneeling beside you, reaching into the wreckage to show you that even in your lowest moment, you were never alone. You thought falling disqualified you, but it was there, in that dust, that my mercy began to rewrite your story. You expected rejection, I brought redemption. You anticipated silence, I brought restoration. You believed your fall was the end, but I saw it as a doorway to healing. I didn't flinch at your failure because I already carried its weight on the cross. I didn't turn my face away because I had already chosen to face every consequence for you. When others turned their backs, when even you couldn't forgive yourself, I stayed in the dirt with you. I sat where you sat, not as a judge, but as a friend who understood how heavy regret feels. I placed my hand over the scars you created and whispered, "You still belong to me." Every sob you released was caught in my presence. Every "I can't do this anymore" became a signal for me to hold you closer. You didn't see it, but every time you thought you had reached your end, I was beneath you, catching you. I have never been afraid of your weakness. I entered it. I became it. I felt it. Also, you would never again believe that your sin could separate you from my love. I know what it's like to fall under the weight of the world. I carried it. That's why I don't abandon you when you stumble. I know the fight it takes to get back up, and I never expect you to do it alone. I don't shout from a distance telling you to rise. I've been down. I lift you. I remind you who you are, not who your mistake says you are. You may have fallen, but you didn't fall beyond my reach. You may have disappointed yourself, but you didn't destroy my plan. I've built redemption into every failure, grace into every crack, light into every collapse. You've cried over your mistakes, but I've cried with you, not because I was angry, but because I knew how much pain sin would bring to your soul, and I've always wanted more for you. That's why I'm still here. That's why the fall didn't finish you. I've already paid for your recovery. I've already prepared the moment where you stand again. So stop hiding your pain from me. Stop pretending you're fine when you're broken. I'm not waiting for perfection. I'm waiting for surrender. You don't need to climb out of the pit before you call my name. Call it from the bottom, and you'll find I'm already there. Hand extended, eyes filled with tears of love, saying, I never left. The world sees a fall as failure, but I see it as a chance to show you that grace has no limits. The moment you hit the ground was the same moment my mercy hit your soul. You were never too far. You were never too broken. I've been with you every step, even the ones that stumbled. I know the weight you've carried, the nights you scream into your pillow, fists clenched toward heaven asking me why. I heard your questions, your accusations, not with anger but with heartbreak. You thought I was the one who allowed the pain, maybe even caused it. You whispered, where were you when I needed you? And all the while, I was right there, catching every shattered piece of you in my hands. You didn't see me because you were looking for escape, but I was offering endurance. You wanted immediate answers. I offered presence. While you were breaking, I was gathering. While your heart felt like glass beneath the pressure of disappointment and betrayal, I was already holding each fragment, whispering, this will not be wasted. I never caused your pain, but I refused to leave you in it. I stepped into it, sat down in the wreckage with you, and began picking up what others discarded. You blamed me because I was the only one you felt safe enough to question, and I took it. I absorbed every angry thought, every silent accusation, and I still stayed. I didn't flinch. I didn't defend myself. I just reached deeper into your grief, never once letting go of your soul. You cried, thinking no one saw you, but I never blinked. You bled, believing no one cared, but I was the one wrapping invisible bandages around wounds you couldn't speak about. Every trauma, every disappointment, every betrayal that made you harder and colder, I saw them. I knew what it would do to your heart, so I've been holding the real you beneath all the layers you've worn to survive. I've watched you numb yourself just to avoid breaking again, but even in that numbness, I held your spark of hope, guarding it from complete extinction. You weren't forgotten. You weren't ignored. You were being carried, even when you didn't feel the arms around you. I don't cause destruction. I rebuild from it. I don't create wounds. I heal them. And I haven't wasted one moment of your pain. What the enemy tried to use to bury you, I've been using to build something eternal. Every tear hath been sacred to me. Every silence, a sanctuary where I continued to speak your name with love. Even when you pushed me away, I pressed in. Even when you cursed my name, I called you mine. And when you asked me why I allowed it, I wanted to show you. I didn't allow it to break you. I allowed myself to break with you, so you would never sit in sorrow alone. The world taught you to suppress pain. I came to redeem it. And now, piece by piece, I've been restoring what life tried to erase. Not rushing, not forcing, but redeeming. Gently, wholly, deeply. You don't have to pretend you're fine anymore. Not with me. Bring me the pieces. Bring me the ugly, the ruined, the regrets you hide from everyone else. I don't need perfection to do something beautiful. I just need surrender. I'm not afraid of your mess. I'm not shocked by your questions. I'm not disappointed in your weakness. I've been holding your brokenness this whole time, not to remind you of what you lost, but to show you what I'm ready to restore. You can stop trying to hold it together. Let it fall in my hands. I'll hold you through the healing, and I won't let go. You convinced yourself I was gone, that I had vanished the moment life turned upside down. But the truth is, I never moved. I've always been in the same place, right where you left me, waiting patiently in the background of your chaos, in the silence behind the noise, in the corners of your busy life where your heart used to come sit with mine. I didn't walk away. I didn't hide. You just got distracted by pain, by pressure, by the parade of lesser loves calling your name. And I never once closed the door behind you. I stood where I've always stood, open-armed, eyes locked on you, whispering through the noise, praying you'd turn back and see me. I didn't make you search through mountains to find me. I stayed close enough for a whisper, near enough to hear your heartbeat shift. You thought I disappeared because your emotions changed, because the fire you once felt grew dim, but I don't operate by feelings. I operate by covenant, and my covenant never changed. You stopped looking because you thought I was only found in moments of perfection, in days when you had your life together, in worship that wasn't interrupted by tears or questions. But I was never looking for performance. I was always after presence. I didn't move when you failed. I didn't step back when you grew cold. I was in the same place, near to the broken, close to the quiet ache that never left your chest. And while you ran toward other things hoping to feel whole again, I stayed anchored in the place where healing flows, not because I needed to, but because I refused to abandon you. You didn't lose me. You lost sight of me. And it's okay. I'm not angry about the delay. I'm just glad you're beginning to look again. I've watched you chase after clarity and come back more confused. I've seen you pour into people who couldn't pour back. I've seen you check all the boxes, but still lie awake wondering why your soul feels so distant. It's not because I left. It's because the voices got louder and your gaze shifted. But now, even now, I see that quiet shift in your heart, that whisper that says, maybe he's still there. And I am. I've never stopped being there. You don't have to retrace your steps to find me. You don't have to prove your loyalty to feel me again. Just turn around. That's it. Just pause, and I'll meet you in the stillness. I've been here all along, holding your space, guarding your place, keeping the light on in your absence. And nothing about your detour changed my devotion. The distance you felt wasn't punishment, it was a result of misplaced attention. But I've never withheld myself from you. I didn't hide my presence. I waited for your return. Not with condemnation, but with compassion. Not with judgment, but with joy. I don't require perfection to welcome you. I only need your willingness to look up. Right now, in this very moment, I'm standing in the same place, heart open, arms wide, ready to fill the emptiness again. You didn't lose me, child. You lost yourself in the noise. But now that you're listening again, now that your heart is softening, you will find me exactly where you need me most. You'll feel me again, not because I came back, but because you stopped long enough to notice that I never left. You didn't see it then, how the things you call disappointment were actually divine intervention. You wept when that door slammed shut, convinced it was rejection, but I was on the other side, standing between you and what would have harmed your soul. I know how hard it is for you to trust the pauses, to sit in the silence when you were hoping for movement. But I never stopped moving, even when I asked you to wait. I wasn't ignoring your prayers, I was protecting your future. That relationship that didn't work out, the opportunity that slipped away, the plans that unraveled when you gave them everything. You thought I was holding back good things, when I was really pulling you back from devastation you couldn't see. You've measured your worth by outcomes, your faith by speed, and your hope by how quickly doors open, but I measure differently. I see the end from the beginning. I see the consequences hiding behind what looks like success. I see the cost behind the thing you thought would make you happy. That's why I said no. That's why I delayed. That's why I removed people, changed directions, interrupted your steps, not to punish you but to preserve you. I know it felt like failure. I know you questioned if I was listening. But your unanswered prayer was the answer you needed. I love you too much to give you what would have destroyed you in disguise. You begged me for shortcuts, and I gave you sanctification. You asked for the door to open, and I strengthened your character in the hallway. You cried over delays, but I was refining your discernment so you'd recognize the real from the counterfeit. Every redirection was a layer of divine armor being placed over you. Every closed opportunity was a thief I kept out of your life. I didn't forget what you asked for. I just remembered what you actually needed. I'm not withholding joy from you. I'm ensuring that when it comes, you'll be whole enough to hold it. You keep thinking delays mean denial, but they often mean development. I wasn't denying you. I was preparing you. And while you paced back and forth, wondering if you missed something, I was rebuilding everything. You don't see it yet, but the story I'm writing is richer than the one you tried to force. The detour is where I wrote in the miracles. The pause is where I laid the foundation for the promise. The closed doors weren't the end. They were the protection you didn't know you needed. I never let you settle, even when you wanted to, because what I have for you doesn't come with compromise. The pain you felt in those moments wasn't punishment, it was the ache of pruning. And I only prune what I plan to grow. If you had gotten everything you wanted when you asked, it would have robbed you of what I've been building behind the scenes. You saw delay. I saw destiny. You saw silence. I saw strategy. You saw doors closing. I saw heaven aligning. And even now, while you're still trying to make sense of the timing, I need you to know, not one moment has been wasted. Not one tear, not one loss, not one unanswered prayer has fallen outside of my plan. I've kept track of it all. I've stored your hopes like treasure. I haven't forgotten. I'm just not finished yet. And when you finally see the full picture, you'll thank me for every door that didn't open, every person that didn't stay, every path that didn't work out, because they were all my way of leading you into the life your heart was really crying out for. And the hardest part was watching you turn away, not because you were rebellious, but because you were hurting, bleeding from battles no one else noticed, walking with a limp no one else acknowledged. You didn't leave me out of defiance. You left because you thought I didn't care. The pain convinced you I was silent. The unanswered questions convinced you I was distant. But the truth is, I was right there, closer than your breath, hands extended, heart wide open, ready to restore what life had shattered inside you. You carried shame that didn't belong to you. You wore guilt like a second skin, convinced that I couldn't love someone as bruised as you. So instead of running into my arms, you walked in the opposite direction, hiding the very wounds I came to heal. But I never took my eyes off you. I watched every step with tears in my eyes, not in anger, but in longing for the moment you'd stop running from the one who never stopped loving. I didn't chase you with punishment. I followed with mercy. I didn't stalk you with judgment. I stayed behind you with grace, picking up the pieces you dropped in your desperation to survive. Every part of you that was broken, I saw it. I named it. And I waited for the moment you'd let me touch it. You thought I was offended by your silence, your avoidance, your doubt, but I was never ashamed of your struggle. I was moved by it. I knew what made you pull away. I understood the betrayal that closed your heart. I felt the weight of the loss you never told anyone about. And I didn't demand that you come back perfect. I just wanted you to come back. I would have met you at your lowest, in the mess, in the pain, in the raw places you tried to hide. I would have knelt beside your questions and sat in your sorrow until you could look me in the eyes again. But you thought you had to fix yourself before you could face me, not realizing I was the only one who could fix what broke. You tried to carry pain I already carried for you. You tried to numb what I came to resurrect. You tried to live without me because you believed the lie that I had already left. But I never moved. I never walked away. You did, and even then, I followed. Not to shame you, but to remind you that love doesn't quit, even when you do. I wasn't watching your failure. I was watching your heart break, waiting for the moment you'd let me step in and do what no one else could, heal you from the inside out. You're not too far. You're not too broken. You're not too late. I was never disappointed in you. I was only broken for you. The cross wasn't just a moment of sacrifice. It was a doorway for your return. And it's still open. You don't have to explain where you've been. Just come back. I'll meet you there, right where the wound began, right where the pain started convincing you I was gone. And I'll do what I've always wanted to do: heal you completely, hold you fully, and restore you endlessly. And even when your heart poured itself out for those who never saw you, I saw it all. I watched you give your best to people who didn't know how to hold your heart. I watched you show up, give time, offer trust, carry burdens, and stay loyal to those who left the moment things stopped serving them. You sat there with tears hidden behind strength, hoping maybe this time you'd be enough, maybe this time someone would finally stay. But they didn't. And with every piece they took from you, I was there, not standing back in silence, but standing beside you in sorrow, reaching out in moments you didn't even know you were breaking. You wanted someone to choose you, but I already had. You longed for someone to see your worth, but I had been treasuring you since the beginning. While they walked away, I remained. While they forgot, I remembered. While they used your kindness without protecting your heart, I was safeguarding the parts of you they didn't deserve to touch. I never left, even when your focus shifted. I didn't compete for your attention. I waited in the background, not because I needed to, but because I knew love doesn't force itself forward. It just remains. I watched you chase validation from those incapable of giving it, and I grieved it. Not because you ignored me, but because I saw how it wounded you. I never despised your longing for love. I placed that desire in you. I only wept when you gave it away to those who handled it carelessly. And through it all, I remained, not once turning away, not once giving up. You overlooked me because I was too constant, too gentle, too safe. But now, as the emptiness grows louder, as the patterns repeat, I know your heart is beginning to sense the difference between love that takes and love that stays. I've always been that kind of love. I never left when the applause stopped. I never abandoned you when you didn't shine. I didn't need your perfection to remain near. I just wanted your heart, even if it was bruised and hesitant. You keep wondering why people didn't stay, but maybe it was because I wanted to teach you how to recognize love that doesn't walk away. I am that love. I've watched every silent cry, every hidden ache, every lonely night where you wished someone would reach out. And I was already reaching, not to be your last option, but your first rescue. I've been speaking through the stillness, not with demands, but with devotion. And now, when the echoes of abandonment try to convince you that no one ever stays, remember me, the one who stood through it all, the one who didn't leave when your hands were empty, the one who remained when others ran. I didn't just stay near. I stayed in love with you through every season. You are not forgotten. You were not foolish for loving. But now it's time you give your love to the one who will never waste it. Let me show you what it feels like to be cherished by someone who never leaves. You didn't see it, but I did. You didn't feel the clash, but I stood in the middle of it. There were wars waged over your soul in the spiritual realm, battles that would have crushed your mind, stolen your identity, strangled your purpose, and buried your hope. And I stood between you and the blow meant to end you. You went about your day unaware, thinking it was just another close call, just another lucky break, just another emotional storm that passed. But behind that calm was a battlefield, soaked with the evidence of how much I've been fighting to keep you alive. You saw exhaustion. I saw spiritual warfare. You saw confusion. I saw demonic interference trying to derail your clarity. You thought the breakdown was random, but I was in the trenches, silencing voices, binding darkness, routing attacks that you were never meant to handle. I didn't call attention to it. I didn't need you to know every detail. I just needed you to make it to the next morning, and I made sure you did. You didn't even know how many times the enemy requested to sift you like wheat. But I said no. I said, "This one is mine." I covered you with intercession. I surrounded your weakness with grace. I placed angelic assignments around you when danger circled too close. While you slept, I was at war. While you doubted, I defended. While you cried out in frustration, I was declaring over you, "They will not fall today. Not on my watch." You didn't feel the shaking because I absorbed the blow. You didn't sense the fire because I stood in the flame. I never told you how close it came, because I wanted you to rest in me, not panic and fear. But know this now, your survival is not accidental. Your resilience is not just your personality. Your ability to endure, to keep standing, to keep breathing, that is the result of countless victories you never had to witness, because I already won them for you. You say, "I don't know how I made it through that season," and I say, "I do. I was there. I fought when you couldn't. I stood when you collapsed. I spoke when you were too tired to pray. I cried out when you lost your voice. I wore the weight when it tried to crush your chest in the night. You wonder how you didn't lose your mind, but I was holding it. You wonder how the addiction didn't take over, but I was breaking chains in the background. You wonder how you're still standing after all you've seen, but I was reinforcing your foundation while the enemy tried to dig you out from the inside. Every morning you rise is proof that I'm still winning battles you don't see. Every breath is a declaration that darkness hasn't won. I haven't just been watching, I've been warring. And I will not stop. You are too precious to leave unguarded. You are too called to leave unprotected. You carry too much destiny for me to ever let hell have the final word. And no, you may not see the fight, but you feel the peace, don't you? That sudden calm in the middle of anxiety. That clarity after confusion. That strength you shouldn't have had. That wasn't coincidence. That was me. Still fighting. Still covering. Still carrying you through unseen lands where demons tremble at the sound of your name in my mouth. You're not walking this life alone. You're not surviving by your own strength. I've been with you through it all, leading victories behind veils, and I will keep standing at your side, sword drawn, love unshaken, until you walk fully into everything I fought to preserve in you. There were moments when your lips didn't move, but your soul was screaming. Times when the pain was too deep to put into words, when all you could do was stare at the ceiling with tears in your eyes, hoping someone, anyone, was listening. I always was. You thought silence meant I didn't hear, but I caught every trembling heartbeat, every desperate sigh, every whisper your mind couldn't shape into sentences. I heard it all. The cries you buried in busyness. The pleas you offered quietly in a crowded room. The prayers you whispered once and then buried beneath disappointment because the answer didn't come when you expected. You assumed I didn't respond. You assumed it didn't matter. But not a single plea have been lost. Not one request has slipped through my hands. I don't require eloquence. I respond to surrender. I don't wait for perfect phrases. I lean into the ache of your spirit, the kind that groans with a pain too deep for words. Even the thoughts you never shared, the hopes you deemed too foolish to say aloud, I was there, listening, holding, recording every cry like treasure in my heart. You think unanswered means unheard, but I'm not deaf to your pain. I'm deliberate with your healing. Some answers take time because I'm not just solving a situation. I'm shaping your soul. Some things you prayed for had timelines that would have hurt you if I rushed. And others, Others I've already begun answering in ways you've not yet recognized. That open door last week, that sudden peace you couldn't explain, that strength to keep going when you were ready to quit, all echoes of a prayer you thought I ignored. You see delay, I see design. You see silence, I see strategy. And even the prayers you abandoned, the ones you decided weren't possible anymore, I'm still working on them. I never tossed them aside just because you did. My memory is not like yours. I remember what you asked when your heart still believed in miracles. I hold those requests with care, breathing life into them while you think they are forgotten. I have not forgotten. I can't forget what you've entrusted to me. You thought, maybe I'm asking for too much. But I am the God of abundance. You wondered, is it selfish to ask for this? But I'm your father, and fathers delight in blessing their children. You said, I guess it wasn't meant to be. But I'm still saying, watch what I will do. Even when your faith faded, I never stopped being faithful. I've been aligning people, rearranging moments, preparing opportunities, all behind the scenes, all in response to the whispers you thought went unnoticed. You didn't have to say it loud for me to hear. I dwell in the quiet places of your heart. And now, even now, as you remember those prayers you buried, I want you to know, it's not too late. I haven't forgotten. I haven't changed my mind. What you asked for in your deepest pain, I've woven into my plan. Not one plea hath been wasted. Not one tear hath been in vain. And some of the greatest miracles you will see will be the answers to prayers you forgot you even prayed, because that's who I am. The one who hears when no one else listens. The one who remembers when you've forgotten. The one who answers in ways that far exceed what you imagined. So don't stop hoping. Don't stop expecting. Even if you can't find the words, I hear your heart. I always have. You kept saying you couldn't feel me, couldn't hear me, that I must have stepped away. But child, I never move in. I've been nearer than your skin, dwelling in the spaces between your thoughts, anchoring your heart when you didn't even realize it was drifting. But the noise around you, and inside you, began to rise. The distractions started small, a scroll, a notification, a conversation, a pressure to keep up, perform, provide. And slowly, without even noticing, your soul began to drown under the weight of constant stimulation. The world kept speaking louder about who you should be, what you should chase, who you must please. And somewhere in the chaos, my voice got buried beneath it all. Not because I stopped speaking, but because I refused to shout over the idols that steal your attention. I don't compete for volume, I wait for surrender. I don't demand to be heard. I draw you in with stillness. And the stillness is what you've been avoiding, afraid of what might rise to the surface when everything else goes quiet. But it's in that very stillness that I've been calling your name. I was the whisper behind your restlessness. I was the ache in your chest when the noise couldn't satisfy. I was the longing that stirred when you realized all your running still left you feeling empty. You tried to fill your schedule, your mind, your heart with anything that would numb the silence. But silence is where I dwell. I've been beside you in the meetings, the scrolling, the playlists, the tasks. And through it all, I've been waiting for the moment when you'd pause long enough to notice the sacred nearness that never left. You assumed distance, because you measured my presence by your feelings. But I'm not found in volume. I'm found in stillness. Not in the fire, not in the earthquake, not in the whirlwind, but in the gentle whisper that requires you to lean in. I've been trying to teach you that your peace doesn't live in performance. Your identity isn't secured by noise. Your purpose isn't found in hustle. It's found in me, and I'm not far. I'm within reach, within breath, within the quiet you keep avoiding. You don't need to work your way back. You don't need to earn your way in. You simply need to be still and know. Know that I am here. Know that I've never left. Know that I've been whispering truth over you while lies shouted for your attention. You were distracted by the urgent, but I've been waiting in the eternal. You chased validation from people who can't even see the depth of your soul, but I've seen it all and still love every piece. You filled your ears with every voice but mine, but I haven't stopped speaking. I'm still calling you back. Not with condemnation, but with compassion. Not to scold, but to restore. I want you to hear again, not just with your ears, but with your heart. I want your spirit to be reminded that it was created for more than noise. It was created for communion. And I've been holding the space all along. Come back to stillness. Come back to quiet. Come back to the place where my presence floods in like waves and silences every false narrative that's been screaming over you. The distractions were loud, but I've been louder in love, deeper in mercy, and constant in proximity. I never left. I've just been waiting for you to turn the volume down long enough to hear me say it again. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. You thought I had gone silent because your heart stopped feeling the rush you once did. You mistook absence for what was really familiarity. But I was never ignoring you. I was present in the same steady way I've always been. Constant, faithful, gentle, unwavering, but your attention had shifted. You were scanning the horizon for dramatic signs, emotional highs, or loud affirmations, and because my love didn't come in the packaging you were used to, you overlooked it. But I never overlooked you. While you were waiting for flashes of revelation, I was pouring love into your ordinary, placing it in the middle of your routines, your breaths, your pauses. It was there in the strength to get up on days when your soul felt too heavy. It was there in the kindness of a stranger when you least expected it. It was there in the warmth of sunlight breaking through the window when you were too numb to move. I was there in the details. But you had tuned your heart to recognize love only in the dramatic, only in the emotional, and so you missed the quiet miracles that surrounded you daily. I didn't love you less just because you weren't listening. I didn't stop pursuing you when you stopped responding. I kept loving you while you gave your energy to everything else. I kept showing up in the background of your chaos, keeping you steady, keeping you breathing, keeping you from unraveling completely. You weren't abandoned. You were distracted. You weren't forsaken. You were focused elsewhere. But that never changed my posture toward you. I didn't withdraw my affection. I didn't punish your forgetfulness. I just stayed. And I kept loving. I loved you through your silence. I love you through your self-doubt. I love you through your indifference, your disconnection, your distance. You didn't stop being my child when you stopped reaching out. I never disconnected from you. I just waited for you to notice that I had never disconnected at all. I stayed through the seasons when your prayers dried up, when your worship turned into routine, when your heart became too tired to trust again. I stayed when you thought, maybe he's busy with someone else, or maybe I'm not worthy of that kind of closeness anymore. But I was always near, not loving you because of your efforts, but loving you because of who I am. You didn't lose me. You just stopped listening for the ways I was loving you all along. And now, as your heart begins to soften again, as your ears start to open again, I'm not showing out for the first time. I'm reintroducing the presence that's never left. The love that's been patient. The love that's been surrounding you without applause. You were looking for something loud, but I've been here all along, loving you in the quiet. Every moment you thought you were overlooked, I was leaning in closer. Every time you assumed I had favorites, I was longing for your gaze. Every time you asked, "Where are you?" I was already standing beside you, whispering, "I'm right here." And I still am. You don't have to perform to hear me again. You don't have to earn your way back into awareness. Just pause. Breathe. Let your soul retune itself to the frequency of my love. Not rushed, not forced, not conditional, but constant. You were never ignored. You just tuned out the only voice that never stopped calling you home. You pulled away. I felt it. Not suddenly, but slowly. The subtle shift when you started relying on your own strength again, trusting your own plan more than my promise, chasing things that couldn't hold you the way I could. You knew what was right, but who hears what with either? You weren't trying to betray me. You were trying to numb something inside that felt like it would never heal. And as the days passed, your heart hardened, not out of hatred, but out of hurt. You thought if you could just forget the ache, you'd find peace. But instead of peace, you found emptiness. And even in that emptiness, I remained. You ran from me, and I never ran after you in anger. I didn't throw guilt at your back. I didn't shame you into returning. I simply walked behind you, step by step, carrying grace in one hand and mercy in the other. I watched you reach for things that couldn't satisfy, watched you try to fill voids with voices that only confuse you more. And still, I waited, not passively but prayerfully. I interceded for you, spoke your name in heaven's courts, guarded your breath when the consequences of rebellion nearly swallowed you whole. You didn't know how close you came to losing yourself completely. But I knew. And I said, not this one. They still have a purpose. They are still mine. While others gave up on you, I never did. While you labeled yourself as too far gone, I was already preparing the pathway home. Your rebellion never scared me. It broke my heart, yes, not because I was offended, but because I knew how much it would hurt you. I never stopped believing in who you truly are, not the version buried under bad decisions, but the one I created in love, before the world ever touched you. I never stopped seeing that, even when you couldn't. I looked past the mess and saw the miracle. I looked beyond the failure and saw the future. I looked through the rebellion and saw redemption. You may have given up on yourself, but I was still investing in your restoration. I sent people to speak life to you, even when you ignored them. I placed reminders in your path, moments of beauty, grace, conviction, little taps on the shoulder from heaven trying to say, I'm still here. You didn't recognize them, but they were me, pursuing you, not to punish, but to pull you out of the trap you didn't know you were in. I knew this wasn't the end of your story. I knew this rebellion was just a chapter, not your identity. And now, as your heart begins to crack open again, I want you to know, I never stopped waiting. I never stopped preparing your restoration. You don't have to beg to be welcomed back. You don't have to work off your mistakes. Come as you are, and I'll restore what the enemy tried to claim. Come with your guilt, your questions, your wounds. I'll meet you with compassion. You are not disqualified. You are not unwanted. You are not a disappointment. You are a testimony in the making. The same hands that held you when you ran will be the same hands that rebuild you when you return. And I will rebuild, not just to bring you back to where you were, but to take you deeper than you've ever been. Stronger. Zavut. Because nothing you did surprised me, and nothing you do will stop me from finishing what I started in you. I've seen how you hesitate now, how you lower your head when you pray, how guilt has tangled itself around your courage like vines trying to choke a rising seed. You glance back over the choices, the detours, the silence, the stubbornness, and think to yourself, it's too late, I've missed it, I've gone too far. But listen to me, and listen closely. I'm still here. I never left. I never pulled back my promise. I never changed my mind about you. Even now, wounded by the distance, bruised by the moments you forgot me, I stand in front of you. Not as a judge with a gavel, but as your savior with scars that are still open, still bleeding mercy, still willing to welcome you home. I am not too holy to reach into your mess. I am not too far removed to feel your hesitation. I know how the shame whispers. I know how the enemy mocks. I know how your heart trembles at the thought of starting again. But child, my love is not fragile. It doesn't expire. It doesn't break under pressure. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures through all things, including your wandering, your silence, your rebellion, and your weariness. You think I'm disappointed, but I'm not. I'm determined. determined to finish the good work I began in you, determined to prove that grace wasn't just for your beginning, but for your becoming. I stood in your past with forgiveness. I stand in your present with patience. And I stand in your future with plans still intact, still unfolding, still full of life and glory. Yes, I feel the wounds, the ones your absence carved into my longing. But I do not hold them against you. I wear them as proof of what I'm willing to endure to reach you again. This is not the end. You're not too late. You haven't missed your window. Heaven doesn't run on human clocks. I've woven eternity into your redemption. You could return 1,000 times, and I'd still be waiting with the same open arms, the same fierce love, the same gentle whisper. You're still mine. You may be late in the eyes of men, but to me, you're right on time, because today, right now, your heart is listening again. And that's what I've been waiting for. Not perfection, not eloquence, just attention. Just one moment of surrender to prove that your soul still knows the sound of my voice. Do you hear it now? It's not the voice of condemnation. It's not the echo of failure. It's me, steady, tender, persistent. I'm not here to remind you of what you ruined. I'm here to restore what's been reserved for you all along. You think too much time has passed, but I've already redeemed it. You think you've broken too many things, but I rebuild from ashes. You think you've fallen too far, but I reach deeper than the pit. I'm wounded, yes, wounded by love, wounded by longing, wounded because I've waited so long to hold you again. But I'm willing to start fresh, willing to write a new chapter, willing to walk every step with you from here. I'm not asking for grand gestures. I'm asking for your heart again. I've never tired of it. I've never withdrawn my affection. You thought the story was over, but I'm just getting ready to reveal the most redemptive chapter yet. And it begins when you stop saying, "It's too late," and start saying, "Jesus, if you're still willing," and I'll respond as I always have. I never stopped being willing. Come to me. You've been so deep in survival mode that you didn't realize I was already constructing the exit. While you were gasping for air, tangled in lies, weighed down by fear and fatigue, I was carving a path with my own hands, not out of panic, but with precision. You were too overwhelmed to see clearly, too entangled to move freely, but that didn't stop me. I wasn't waiting for you to fix it. I wasn't demanding that you figure it all out. I stepped into the trap before you even knew you were caught. I saw the snares being laid, the toxic cycles, the emotional chains, the mental torment, the spiritual confusion, and while you fought to stay afloat, I went to work behind the curtain of the unseen. What looked like delay to you was actually me reinforcing the escape, making sure once you walked out, you'd never have to walk back in again. I didn't just build a temporary exit. I constructed a permanent way forward. You cried, thinking no one understood the pressure you were under, but I was in the pressure with you. I knew exactly how much you could take. I knew exactly what needed to break before your breakthrough would be safe and sustainable. You thought I was late, but I was being thorough. You thought I wasn't moving, but I was working in dimensions your eyes couldn't access. You saw the walls of the trap. I saw the weak points where light could enter. You felt stubborn. I was pulling back layers of deception, layer by layer, until freedom could breathe through again. I never designed you to stay in survival. I created you for victory. But the enemy tried to convince you that survival was all you were capable of. He whispered that the trap was your home, that confusion was your identity, that the pressure was proof you were forgotten. But child, I never forgot you. I was designing a way out so strategic, so specific, that once you step into it, the very trap that tried to end you will become a testimony of how far I'll go to rescue you. You thought you were too weak to escape, but I've been carrying you this whole time. You thought the voices that told you you'll never change were right, but I've been rewriting every word with truth. I don't abandon people in pits. I descend into them. I don't shout instructions from the outside. I enter the fire with you, just like I did before, and I stay until the chains fall off. And I didn't just make a door. I became the door. I am your exit. I am your freedom. I am your new beginning. And even though you couldn't see it, I've been guiding your steps toward the place where this trap loses its grip on you forever. You are not trapped. You are transitioning. You are not finished. You are being freed. And the way out isn't coming. It's already here. It's me. I built it while you were too tired to move. I prepared it while you were too numb to pray. I protected it while the storm tried to blind you. And now, as you read this, your heart knows. This is not the end. This is the invitation. I'm leading you out, not just so you can survive, but so you can finally live. The trap was real, but so is your escape. And I, your deliverer, have made a way where there was no way, and that way is open now. You gave your trust to temporary things, hoping they'd hold the weight of your soul, but they cracked. You leaned on people who promised forever, but they left. You followed paths that sparkled with promise, but they vanished beneath your feet. You poured your heart into dreams, distractions, relationships, escapes, and when they failed you, you blamed yourself. You thought maybe you were the problem, that maybe you were too much, too broken, too late. But child, it was never you that broke the promise. It was the promise that was never meant to carry the burden of your healing. You've been trying to fix eternal wounds with earthly answers. But the truth is, there's only one foundation that never crumbles. Only one name that doesn't change with the seasons. Only one love that doesn't vanish when storms rise. It's me. I'm not another option. I'm the answer. You've tried everything else, and it led you here, to this moment of holy exhaustion, where your soul is done pretending that surface solutions work. That's not failure. That's awakening. You didn't lose your way, you just reached the end of what doesn't last. And now that your hands are empty, now that your efforts have worn thin, I can finally show you what lasting peace looks like. Not the kind you conjure up for a few hours. Not the fake strength you wear for others while your heart aches in secret. I'm talking about real peace, the kind that anchors you in chaos, steadies you in transition, and holds you when nothing makes sense. You don't need another temporary fix. You need a permanent savior. And I've never stopped being available. While you ran from one source to the next, I stood still, waiting. Not to punish you, but to prove to you that I'm the only one who doesn't walk away. You tried the world's way. It left you empty. You tried doing it on your own. It left you tired. You tried numbing the pain. It left you hollow. But I offer something radically different. Not escape, but encounter. Not distraction, but deliverance. Not another system of self-help, but a love that reaches deeper than self-effort ever could. I'm not just a temporary comfort. I'm the cornerstone. I'm the only one who can carry the full weight of your story and still speak purpose over your future. And I don't shatter. I don't change when circumstances do. I don't abandon when you struggle. I don't crack under pressure. I hold. I protect. I restore. And I rebuild. I don't offer pieces. I offer wholeness. I don't patch up. I resurrect. You've tried everything else, and now you're here. Weary, honest, open. This is the exact place where I do my best work. Not in your polished version, but in your surrendered one. Let go of what doesn't last. Let go of what keeps breaking. Let go of the people who only show up when you're useful. Let go of the strategies that numb but never heal. I'm not like them. I'm not asking you to climb your way to worth. I already called you worthy when I hung on that cross. I'm not offering temporary relief. I'm offering complete redemption. And I'm not going to hand you another fragile solution that will collapse in your hands. I'm going to give you myself. Steady. Solid. Sovereign. I am the answer that holds the truth, that heals, the presence that stays. You don't need to keep searching. You've arrived at the only place that can carry you through every season, into every calling, beyond every failure, and forward into the future I've already prepared. Yes, come. Come to me. I won't shatter. You spent your life believing the lie that you're too complicated, too messy, too much for anyone to truly stay. Every time someone pulled away, every time you were misunderstood, rejected, or overlooked, that lie burrowed deeper. You began to think something in you must be broken, that maybe you feel too deeply, need too much, dream too wildly, question too often. So you started to shrink. You tried to become smaller, quieter, easier to love. You burying parts of yourself to keep the peace. You wore masks just to be accepted. You handed out edited versions of yourself because you believed the real you would drive people away. But child, I've seen the real you, and I've never flinched. Before anyone had the chance to misunderstand you, I knew you completely. And I never stepped back. I didn't turn away when I saw the depth of your struggles. I didn't hesitate when I saw the weight of your wounds. I didn't retreat when I heard the thoughts you were too ashamed to speak. I leaned in. I embraced every layer, every scar, every question, every emotion, and I called it lovable. You are not hard to love. You've just spent your life giving your heart to people who never took the time to see the whole of you. But I have. I see your tenderness behind the walls. I see your courage behind the fear. I see your longing behind the silence. I see the child in you who still hopes someone will finally stay. And I am here to say, I stayed. I stayed when you were angry. I stayed when you doubted. I stayed when you tried to push me away, convinced I'd eventually leave like the others. But I won't. My love is not based on convenience or comfort. It's based on covenant. And my covenant with you says this: I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will never be the one who walks away. You don't have to tone yourself down to be held by me. You don't have to earn my affection. I loved you before you did a single thing to deserve it. I loved you when you didn't know how to love yourself. I loved you when all you could see were your flaws. And I love you still, not the version you present to the world, but the real, raw, unfiltered you that only I fully understand. You were never meant to be reduced to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You were created in the image of a God whose love has no limits. My love doesn't run out when you're struggling. It doesn't diminish when you're quiet. It doesn't pull back when you're overwhelmed. It covers. It holds. It stays. You are not too much, not for me. You're not too emotional, too intense, too complex. You're exactly who I created. And every detail I formed in you, I did so with intentionality. Nothing about you is an accident. Not your voice, not your heart, not your tears, not your dreams. You don't need to apologize for being deeply human. That's the very space where I meet you most tenderly. You don't need to hide to be loved. You just need to come to me, uncovered, unguarded, unashamed. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to get tired of you. I'm not going to change my mind when you show me the full picture. I already saw it, and I still chose you. You are not hard to love. You've just never known a love like mine. But now you do. And I'm not letting go. You gave so much of your heart to those who were still bleeding from their own wounds. You placed your hope in hands that were shaking, believing that if you loved hard enough, if you stayed long enough, if you proved yourself worthy enough, maybe they would finally give you the peace you were desperate to feel. But they couldn't. Not because you weren't worth loving, but because they were never meant to be your anchor. You asked broken vessels to pour into you what they didn't even possess. You looked for rest in places that were never still. You trusted unsettled hearts to steady yours. And I watched, not with anger but with deep compassion. I knew the ache behind every choice. I understood the emptiness that led you there. You were searching. You were just trying to quiet the noise inside. But instead of peace, you found more confusion. Instead of healing, you inherited their chaos. Instead of clarity, you absorbed their uncertainty. And every time you were left disappointed, you blamed yourself. You thought, maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe if I had done more, love it better, kept quiet, stayed longer. But child, none of it was your fault. You were asking humans to do what only I can. I am your peace. Not them. Not the approval you chased. Not the connection you craved. Me. Only me. I never designed your soul to rest in anything other than my presence. That's why everything else eventually feels unstable, because it is. I'm not saying those people didn't care. I'm not saying they didn't try. But the kind of peace your spirit longs for can be found in anyone who hasn't found it in me first. You've been trying to draw from empty wells, hoping for a drop of something lasting, but I'm the living water. I'm the only one who can satisfy the longing without draining you in return. You tried to be their calm while sacrificing your own. You tried to be their healer while bleeding out inside. But that was never the life I called you to. I didn't ask you to become their peace. I called you to rest in mine. And when you finally return to that place, the quiet place with me, you'll realize that what you've been searching for in them was always waiting here, in my presence. I'm not like them. I don't project my pain onto you. I don't shift with moods or seasons. I don't retreat when it gets too heavy. I'm the same yesterday and today, forever. And when you sit with me, I don't ask you to earn peace. I just give it. Freely. Fully. Instantly. The kind of peace that silences anxiety without asking questions. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances or emotions. The kind that holds you when the storm refuses to break. You've been tired because you've been trying to be everything for everyone. But now, let me be everything for you. Let me speak stillness into the places that still echo with past voices. Let me restore what was shaken loose when you tried to make people your anchor. You were never meant to carry their weight. You were meant to cast your cares on me. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for surrender. Come to me with your exhaustion, with your disappointment, with your confusion, and I'll give you rest, the kind that no human could ever offer, the kind that roots you so deeply that nothing can shake you again. You don't have to search anymore. Peace is not a person. Peace is not a feeling. Peace is a presence. And I am that presence. I am your peace. And I've been here all along. You've spent so many nights tangled in questions, the kind that don't come with quick replies, the kind that echo in your chest long after the world goes quiet. You've replayed moments, tried to reason with mysteries, searched for logic where faith was meant to lead. I've watched you, my beloved, pacing the floor of your own uncertainty, hoping that if you thought long enough or prayed hard enough, the confusion would dissolve. But through all of it, I wasn't impatient. I wasn't frustrated that you doubted. I stayed close, listening to every whisper of uncertainty, not as a teacher irritated by a slow student, but as a father tenderly guiding a child learning to trust again. I never shamed you for the questions. I held you through them. I didn't pull away when your faith trembled. I anchored you while it shook. You thought you were losing faith, but what was really happening was transformation. The old version of belief, the one built on feelings and formulas, was breaking so a deeper knowing could rise. You wanted answers, but I wanted relationship. You wanted clarity, but I wanted connection. I wasn't ignoring your doubts. I was using them to draw you closer, to teach you that peace doesn't always come from explanation. Sometimes it comes from encounter. I've already answered the questions that haunt you, not with words written on walls, but with my scars, with my consistency, with every breath that keeps you alive even when you've given up trying to understand. You keep asking me, why did this happen? Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you speak louder? But child, I never stopped speaking. You just expected my voice to sound like your understanding. I don't always answer the way you expect because I'm not just solving the situation. I'm shaping your soul. I've answered through protection you didn't see, through delays that saved you, through losses that realigned you. I've answered through my word that never changes. I've answered through my presence that never leaves. You just couldn't see it yet because your mind was louder than your spirit. But even then, I waited. Patiently. Not once did I rush you to believe again. I gave you room to wrestle because I knew that wrestle would lead you to revelation. You thought your questions disqualified you, but they were actually evidence that your heart still cared enough to seek me. I don't fear your questions. I use them as doors to enter deeper places of your heart. So when you asked, "Are you still with me?" I whispered, "Always." When you asked, "Will you forgive me?" I said, "I already have." When you asked, "Can you still use me after all this?" I answered, "Yes, and I will." I've never left one of your doubts unanswered. I've simply chosen to respond in timing and ways that protect your growth. You don't have to figure it all out to follow me. You don't have to silence every question to believe again. You just have to let go of the idea that faith is the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing me even while the questions remain. And I've seen you, tired, confused, sometimes angry, but still searching, still whispering my name when no one else knows you're praying. It's why I'm still here, holding steady, still patient, still believing in you while you learn to believe again. The answers you've been waiting for. They'll come, not as arguments but as peace. And when they do, you'll look back and realize, I wasn't silent. I was speaking through every moment. I wasn't distant. I was waiting until your heart was quiet enough to recognize my voice again. And even now, as you read this, that's me, patient, present, still speaking, still loving, still faithful. You've been trying to do all the right things. Say the right words. Follow the right rules. You've walked into buildings filled with rituals, but left with a heart still empty. You've tried to check all the boxes, to be what others said a good person or a real believer looks like, but deep down, it never felt like enough. That's because I never called you into a system that demands perfection while starving your soul. I didn't invite you into religion. I invited you into relationship. Redemption is not a list. It's a love that rewrites your story. I never asked you to perform for my approval. I've already given it. Not because of what you've done, but because of what I've done for you. I paid for your freedom in full. It wasn't so you could be bound again by rules and fear and appearance. It was so you could live, truly live, forgiven, accepted, transformed. Religion told you to behave before you could belong. I say, come as you are, and I'll do the transforming. Religion tried to make you earn my presence. But I say, you already have my presence, and in it you will be changed. You sat through sermons, gone through motions, and still felt far from me. That's not your fault. That's the emptiness of trying to find life in formulas. I'm not after routine. I'm after your heart. I'm not impressed by performance. I'm drawn to surrender. Redemption doesn't look like a stained glass window. It looks like nail-pierced hands reaching into your darkness and lifting you into light. I came for the real you, the one behind the Sunday smile, the one who doubts sometimes, the one who struggles to pray, the one who has questions, wounds, guilt, and longing. I came to redeem that version, not the polished one, not the pretending one. You keep thinking you have to fix yourself before you step closer, but child, I do my best work with broken things. I came to heal what religion never could, to remove the pressure and replace it with peace, to trade your striving for stillness, to turn your guilt into grace. You were never meant to live exhausted, trying to be holy enough. You were meant to live loved, knowing I've already made you new. My cross wasn't just a symbol. It was a sacrifice that broke every chain religion tried to put back on you. I fulfilled every law. I met every requirement. And now, I'm calling you out of the prison of performance into the promise of my presence. You don't have to hide your questions. You don't have to suppress your humanity. I'm not intimidated by the real you. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting honesty. Redemption means I take what's been damaged and declare it usable. It means your mistakes don't disqualify you. They become part of the miracle. It means your scars don't shame you. They reveal the story of grace. I didn't bleed for religion. I bled for relationship. I didn't rise for rule. I rose so you could walk with me, hand in hand, heart in heart, for all of eternity. I'm not waiting for your performance. I'm waiting for your permission to enter your heart, to restore what was lost, to bring you home not to a building but to me. So let go of the pressure. Let go of the fear. Let go of the idea that you'll never be enough. I didn't call you to impress me. I called you to trust me. And I'm still calling, not from a pulpit but from your deepest place, saying, come and be redeemed. Come and be loved. Come and be mine. You've been looking at the circumstances, at the chaos in your life, the pressures from outside, and you've assumed that's where the fight is. You've blamed the job, the people, the finances, the disappointments, even your past. But the truth is, the loudest battle isn't outside of you. It's within. It's the unrest that steals your sleep, the self-doubt that creeps in when no one is watching, the thoughts that circle your mind like vultures, whispering that you're not enough, not lovable, not strong enough to make it. The war isn't about what's happening around you. It's about what's being waged inside your heart, inside your identity, inside your belief. And I see it. I see the way you smile on the outside while you're falling apart inside. I see the invisible war that you're too tired to name. And I want you to hear this clearly. You were never meant to fight that war alone. I didn't watch you from a distance, waiting for you to figure it out. I came to stand in the middle of that battlefield, not to judge your weakness, but to conquer it with my strength. I came to win the war for your peace. I came to silence the voices in your head that do nothing but accuse, condemn, compare, and confuse. I came to break the patterns of fear and anxiety that keep returning like waves in the night. I came to remind your soul that you are not a battlefield for destruction. You are a canvas of redemption. The battle within is where I do my most powerful work. Because while others see the outside, I deal with the roots. I'm not trying to fix your surface. I'm healing your foundation. You think the problem is your habits, your failure, your circumstances, but I know it's deeper. And I'm not afraid to go there. I'm not afraid of your shadows. I'm not intimidated by your thoughts. I don't flinch when you break down again. I'm not watching you lose the fight, I'm stepping in to fight for you. Every moment you feel like giving up, I'm placing strength inside your soul. Every time the lies get loud, I'm speaking truth underneath them. Every time the guilt resurfaces, I'm reaching into the memory and rewriting it with grace. I came to fight for the you that you can't even explain. The version of you that's hidden beneath years of pressure, trauma, expectation, and survival. I came for that version. The tired you, the scared you, the doubting you. And I will win. Not because you're strong, but because I am. Not because you have it all figured out, but because I've already defeated everything that's trying to defeat you. The war within doesn't scare me, it draws me closer. I'm not leaving until you walk in peace again. Not the kind that fades when the world shifts, but the kind that remains when everything else breaks down. My peace will guard your mind. My love will rebuild your identity. My word will break the lies. My spirit will speak louder than your fear. You don't have to fight to earn this. I already won it. The cross wasn't just about eternal life. It was about internal healing. I died not just to change your eternity, but to reclaim your inner world from the voices and forces trying to destroy you. And I'm not going anywhere. The war may still rage for a while, but know this. You're not fighting for victory. You're fighting from it. I've already overcome. and I'm staying with you until your soul remembers what your heart has forgotten. You are safe. You are loved. You are whole in me. The battle is mine. The victory is yours. Just stay close to me. I will not let go. Amen.